Welcome to the Global Studies Lecture Series. I'm Professor Suzette Scotti, and I teach art history here at Leeward Community College. In this series, we invite guests to share their experiences and insights from countries and regions all around the world. The Global Studies program explores how culture, history, and lived experience shape our understanding of the world and our place in it, encouraging curiosity, reflection, and a broader global perspective. Through a variety of courses that emphasize international and multicultural viewpoints, students can earn an academic subject certificate in global studies. Our program builds global awareness, strengthens communication and critical thinking skills, and prepares students to thrive in today's interconnected world. If you'd like to learn more, feel free to contact me at sdscotti@hawaii.edu or my colleague, Dr. Karim Khan at khana@hawaii.edu. Today, we're sitting down once again with Sahara Kiskis, a fourth-year honors student at the University of Hawai at Mānoa, majoring in art history. Born and raised in San Diego, Sahara has a strong passion for travel and exploring the history, food, culture, and art of different countries. She was recently accepted into the graduate school at UH Manoa, where she will pursue her master's degree in communication. Sahara has become a familiar face in the Global Studies series, previously sharing stories from her travels through Singapore and France. Today, she returns to talk with us about her most recent journey, exploring the landscapes, culture, and experiences of New Zealand. Sahara, welcome back, and thanks again for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you to everyone here. I really enjoyed my talk here last time, and I just love the ability to continually have this opportunity. So I'm honored that you continually give me this opportunity, Professor Scotti, and I'm always happy to talk story about travel. It's something I'm so passionate about, and to give back to the UH community, since the UH community has given me so much already. So if this is helpful to anyone, I'm happy to share and talk as much as you want about it.
Thank you, Sahara. I know that our listeners, and especially my students, are going to love it, as they love all of your videos.
Oh, thank you. That's very, very sweet. I guess I'll
dive right in.
All right, so I will dive right in. So pretty much that was introducing where I've been and traveled, a glimpse of that. But over my winter break, I really was excited to take the opportunity to go to New Zealand with my family. It was mainly from New Year's to a portion of January, I got to go and experience New Zealand. So I should just get right into it. So why New Zealand? Why was this the place of choice that my family and I decided that we wanted to go travel? And mainly because with this map here, it shows that if you see Australia and then you see New Zealand right in kind of the far right, bottom right corner, New Zealand is, ironically, I'm not showing Hawaii on here, but it is relatively pretty close. And the beauty of Hawaii is that you can be very close in proximity to Asia and Australia and New Zealand. And we thought, why not take advantage? It's been something that my mom and I are very, not that my dad isn't passionate about travel, but it's also something that my mom's really raised me to like and enjoy. And so my mom had been really discussing that she's been wanting to go to New Zealand for a couple of years now. And it was mainly something that came up naturally when we were trying to decide what's winter break going to look like. And I knew I was going home to California for my birthday. And so we just thought, why not? Let's just do something we've never done before. Any of us have ever been to before. And so New Zealand just felt like the perfect pick.
A new adventure.
Exactly. And so I did hint at the winter break as a portion of that, but also it's summer season, and not just New Zealand, but in the Southern Hemisphere. So weather-wise, it's really good to be going to New Zealand and any other country in the Southern Hemisphere at this time, just because the weather conditions are, for what they say, a better time to go. And there's also, some countries are known for different things that are happening. And so for me, it was just more so we wanted to experience what summer is like in New Zealand. And also something super interesting, and I thought this was important to note, was their population size. And so the population size of New Zealand is 5.3 million. And in comparison to other countries like Australia, I'm going to reference, is 27.2 million. And then when you compare it to the US has 349 million. So considering how much, as New Zealand appears to be tiny, there is a lot of land. And with considering the amount of population that they have, it really gives you a sense to really truly appreciate the environment and nature that New Zealand offers. And so you really get to really soak in and be present and just really enjoy how beautiful New Zealand is, because I kept pinching myself as I pinch myself here in Hawaii that I get to live in such a beautiful place, but getting to travel somewhere and feel out a different environment and everything, I was really honored. It was something I just was like in awe every single second I walked out. It was awesome. So just wanted to source where I was getting my information from. And so the areas of New Zealand I went to. So I feel that's important to mention. New Zealand is divided into two different islands, from the North and South Island. And so my family and I really wanted to explore one island and appreciate what that island had to offer. And so we chose to go to North Island first, which is where Auckland, which is actually not the capital of New Zealand, but it is one of the more popular cities of New Zealand. And so we decided that that would be a perfect opportunity to be able to really just explore what North Island looks like. And so Auckland is one of the more popular cities, so this is a glimpse of it here. And this is one of the cities where you can fly directly into from anywhere in the world, pretty much, or it just depends on where you're flying from. And then Port Waikato, which is an hour, almost like 2 hours out of Auckland's south and west. And so it is a coastal town, but also has some inner, inland. And so gorgeous landscapes. And so we got to stay on a sheep farm lodge, and I'll kind of hint at that later, but it was gorgeous, mainly that we weren't right along the water, but we got to really have an inland nature experience. And so Port Waikato was the location we really got to enjoy that.
That's so nice that you didn't just stay in a modern hotel in the city, but you really got out into the real countryside and experienced life the way a lot of New Zealanders live it.
No, we wanted to really experience an urban and suburban landscapes of both of what New Zealand offers. And so Auckland's the perfect chance to really experience an urban environment, whereas Port Waikato is an example of where you can kind of have more of a reclined,
it's a nice balance.
Relaxing.
Yeah,
Exactly. Absolutely. It's got to have some sort of balance in travel, I feel like, somehow. And then Waiheke Island, which is actually by ferry. It's a 40-minute ferry from Auckland, and it's an island that's absolutely gorgeous. And that was really where it felt like summer, if I'm going to be quite honest, in New Zealand, because I think coming from Hawaii, going anywhere, you are a lot more, I think the humidity without it, you feel a lot more colder just generally. And so unless if you're going to somewhere where it's actually their summer, then that's different. But for this, it was really cool to go to Waiheke Island, where it was just so warm. I felt like I was almost as if I didn't leave Hawaii in a sense. It just was a different environment with a completely different cuisine options and just so much different experiences to experience, just because you would think as island to island, there's some similarities, and there definitely are, but there also are some differences, I want to say, too, just because it is a completely different country with different rules and just different, environment in general, so it presents different opportunities.
Did you have a nice, smooth crossing on the ferry?
Oh, yeah, no problems at all. I actually had very good. The weather was honestly remarkable for most of the time, so it was really great. We didn't have any sort of hazardous conditions or anything. We're traveling from the dock of Auckland over to the dock of Waiheke Island. It did not feel scary whatsoever.
That's the advantage of going in the summer.
Right, exactly. You don't have to fear
Calm
too much.
seas, yeah.
Right, exactly. And so then to kind of put into perspective, I wanted to show a map that kind of showed where everything is. So obviously Auckland is where you can see the big word Aucklands, but then Port Waikato is just on the bottom left, not corner, but just on the bottom left. And then Waiheke Island is on the right, kind of a little lower, but just wanted to kind of show in perspective where we got to go, me and my family. More so that I think, there's so much more of the North Island we could have explored, especially Wellington as well, but definitely we wanted to explore what these places had to offer, and that, I think you gotta also save, I feel like, some portion of travel to revisit and go back to. So next, South Island, that's my attention next. I got to experience North Island, a portion of it, and if I get to go back and experience more I would be happy to.
It's nice to do it the way you do it, slowly, so
Yeah.
that you have a chance to really experience it, not just check off
And
places
rush it,
to visit,
right?
you know, as you go through. It's not a checklist or a grocery list.
Right, exactly. Just doing check marks. No, that's not how I like to travel either. I agree. So traveling, what was traveling looking like to New Zealand? So I briefly mentioned when I was traveling there to Auckland to start, that was where we started out our journey. I was in California celebrating the holidays with my family as well as my birthday. And so I flew we took a San Diego, we went in a 3-hour car ride to LAX, and then flew out of LAX directly to Auckland. It was a 13-hour flight. And if I'm even thinking of flights I've been on, I'm sure I've had longer travel days, but a 13-hour flight, it was actually pretty seamless, not too challenging by any means, but sitting for 13 hours, I mean, aside from getting up and moving around a little bit or going to the bathroom, aside from that, it was a really long travel day. And I was just anxious to get there and start experiencing it. And so that was 13 hours. It's really nice that exists. It's good to know if you ever need to go from the mainland to there, there's a wonderful 13-hour flight that you can go on.
It's nice that it's direct.
Correct.
Even though it's long, but at least you're not hopping on and off.
Right,
waiting
exactly.
around airports.
Totally, and it was American who was the flight person of that flight. Then when it was coming back to Honolulu, as I have school, it's time for me to start my semester. I landed, I think, a day before, like 2 days before the semester started, so I needed to really make sure that I was gonna get right back settled into my life here on island. And so it was an 8.5-hour flight, so not as bad, but definitely it was, in comparison to the 13-hour flight, way faster.
It's a hop, skip, and a jump compared to the other one.
Right, exactly, absolutely. And that was also a pretty smooth flight. It's also interesting, too, I believe, when we were actually going to Auckland, though, there was a bit of turbulence at one point when it was kind of going over, like, Fiji and, like, the islands over there. It's, I think, natural, apparently, from what we understood, but it was some interesting turbulence. I was like, oh, well, never experienced this just because I've never flown over those islands before.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but honestly, going back was actually more seamless than going there. But honestly, I think that's something you have to expect when you travel to. You have to be prepared for any conditions. And, you know, as long as you're just like, you know, confident that, you know, you trust in like the flight crew and everyone who's flying you there. If you're flying to where you're going, you know, it's almost like I also live by this phrase too, like whatever happens, happens, like whatever's meant to be is meant to be. So like, you know, everything happens the way it's meant to. So
You're not only a traveler, you're a philosopher.
oh my goodness, there's no way I could. That's so sweet. My philosophy, hopefully I'm giving some good advice or philosophy, exactly.
It's
Hopefully.
very safe to travel, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, nowadays.
yeah, but you have to take risks too. So I mean, up to you, right? So, but anyway, so getting around New Zealand. So how did my family and I get around? So mainly we drove a lot. We, aside from Auckland, where you don't really need a car since it's so urban, we did take Ubers around, but more so like there's rides that you can get when you're in Auckland. I mean, so urban and just it's very walkable. A lot of it is, and if you're trying to go out to different neighborhoods, that's the only problem. But in terms of when we got to go out, like get out of the city and everything, we did have to rent a car, and it was so funny. My dad was the person who drove, which. If you don't know, New Zealand is one of many places where the steering wheel is on the right side instead of here, like it is on the left. So it's quite an adjustment because if you drive here often, there's specific rules and, you know, ways how you drive here. And so if you're driving on the right, it's a whole different ball game. And so my dad was the brave one and did that for us. My mom and I didn't even dare get near the steering wheel just because I'm not sure if we would all make it back, each one of us. So we trusted my dad, and my dad did actually a really great job. And then even when he said when they arrived back to California that it was kind of an adjustment for him because he was so used to driving on the right. So
Well, he really got into it.
yeah, he really, I think once you just have to settle in and get
And they
used to
drive
it.
on the other side of the road,
Right.
too.
Exactly, absolutely.
Wow, that's very brave.
Right. So kind of the logistics of where we stayed, not going to be too kind of specific, but not too specific. We did stay in a hotel right near the ferry building where Auckland is. So we got to experience a lot of the urban life down there and being close to the water. That's something that my family and I love is the water. Obviously, it's why we all three of us live in such water-based cities, but definitely such a really great experience to be where we were in Auckland in specific. In terms of Port Waikato, we did stay on this lodge, specifically a sheep farm. So mainly where we were surrounded by sheep, and it was such a cool, different environment just because I'm so used to such a urban life, and yes, suburban to an extent where you can get out, but like not where it's like farm. And so this is very interesting where we got to have home cooked meals like almost every single day by their chef that they had there.
Wow.
And they had a garden, so this is just like, they had a lot of areas where you could go there and mainly just relax. They also didn't have the best service out there Wi-Fi wise, so it was actually really nice. There would be moments where I couldn't be on my phone for a while, and it was actually a really great way to unplug actually and really enjoy the trip and not have to be checking for a text or an email, or just be fully present in what the trip is offering.
Just enjoy the beautiful landscapes,
right?
And the beautiful,
exactly.
pure, clean air.
Yeah, this is really where I began pinching myself, like, oh my goodness, like the prairies and just like the sheep doing their own thing. It was really, really cool.
And I bet you saw a lot of those sheep as you were driving through the countryside,
absolutely.
right?
And there were other animals too. I mean, there was horses, there was cows, all these different animals, but it was really cool being able to just be like surrounded by sheep, like such a random but unique experience that I'll remember always.
It's very unpopulated.
Yeah, totally.
Sometimes it feels like there are more sheep than people.
Totally. And the owners of this lodge were so sweet. Got to know them, like, you know, through their just making us feel like they were in their home. And that was something they mentioned right off the bat. And so that was something that we really got to embrace what their living motto of their lodge is. And so
and they grow their own food, it looks like. They have a greenhouse.
And at least not just like their own, but definitely they supply like local New Zealand or not like Kiwi brands and companies. So it's really, they try to promote everything Kiwi, which is awesome to see and actually get to learn about more so teas, olive oil, wine, all these things that are Kiwi based.
So they grow all these things in New Zealand,
Yep.
wine, olive oil.
Yeah, even the Manuka honey, which is that renowned honey, like I would have never known unless if I had gone there how important that honey is to them there and how their production and their quality, they are all about Manuka honey. It's really cool.
And did you try all these local products?
Oh, yes, definitely. Took any chance to. Even brought back some Manuka honey for here, so I feel like I have a piece of New Zealand with me. So, yeah, it's truly, their products are so good. Oh my goodness. I'm already itching to go back. So, yeah.
Wow.
And then Waiheke Island, which I think of my entire part of the whole vacation, Waiheke Island was my favorite. It was also another really great way to decline. Also the weather, I thrived so much in that weather. The UV was actually, I want to say like 11 to 13 almost every single day. And so it was so interesting being able to be there because like I said, it feels similar to here in a sense. And just being really able to like the sun down there, I thought the sun here is pretty powerful, but down there it's a whole different level of powerful. Like even just being out in the sun for 1 hour, I was definitely already noticing, oh, I'm already red. Like this is, so definitely if you're gonna go to Waiheke, especially in the summer, just wear that sunscreen, just be cognizant of that.
Bring a big hat.
Right, exactly. But where we stayed here, we actually stayed in an Airbnb property that was located on an olive oil property. This is where we got to learn that there's one brand or company in specific to New Zealand makes their olive oil, or Waiheke specifically. So really, really cool that we got to where it was right down the hill from us since our Airbnb was on a hill. So we got to have incredible views, which is like how in the middle, it's kind of hard to see, but if you really zoom in, if there is a way or for you to really pinch your eye and look, that's actually, I'm looking at Auckland right there because their Sky Tower, what they're known for, their landmark is right there.
Oh, I think I can see it.
Yeah, it's very, very tiny.
Yeah,
but yes, so it's really cool that you were actually able to view Auckland from where we were directly, our viewpoint. So it was awesome.
And you had a beautiful sunset too.
Oh, their sunsets were gorgeous over there. Definitely. It was like, almost like I feel like I was living in like a Pinterest board sometimes. I was like, what's like, this is crazy. Like this is what you see on Pinterest. So very interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
And tell me about their olive oil. Does it taste like the olive oil you know of, like from Italy and from the Mediterranean?
It tastes so similar. It does. Really? But like, I think it's more so, as I'll get into kind of their takeaways about learning more about New Zealand, it's mainly about like their emphasis on like their production and like just their quality. Like it was very good quality. I could taste it. And like a lot of when my mom would cook mainly in her Airbnb. I'd help her sometimes, but mainly my mom loves to cook whenever we travel. If we do travel and we're in a home, it's my mom's the chef, obviously, just from what her lifestyle is. So I let her do her thing and happy to help if necessary. But when we did use that olive oil, it was just like, oh my goodness, it was delicious. Wow. It was olive oil like Italy, like just like, I feel like it's always such a cool condiment. We didn't bring that back, but that would have been a really cool condiment that now I kind of wish I brought back now, but you know what? Just have to go back, I guess. That's going to be the new plan, but yeah. So sightseeing. So I mainly am pertaining this to Auckland because other than the beautiful landscapes of so much of New Zealand and where we were, I think that what everyone thinks of is their Sky Tower. It's like the equivalent to like the Paris Eiffel Tower, equivalent to the Empire State Building of New York, and like the Needle in Seattle. So this is theirs, and it's actually so cool. Since we were in Auckland for New Year's Eve, we got to experience the New Year, not first because I believe it's Fiji or Samoa that gets to experience it first. I can be wrong, but from what I've understood, I guess like the first kind of, not first directly, but one of the first groups to experience the New Year first. And so it was very weird being in communication with people from, whether it was from here, home in California or wherever, that it was just not like, they're not even at the New Year yet. Like it's their 30th still. So it was really cool.
Isn't it a weird concept that you can be in 2 different years at the same time?
Yes, it was so weird.
Yeah.
And they were like, you're already celebrating New Year's. I'm like, yes. And so it was really magical, actually. So I have a photo of it in the day where it's just doing its thing, standing there. But at night when it was the New Year's Eve, we walked out to one of the like streets that was nearby the water, since it is sort of nearby the water location-wise, but we could see more from afar. So we got to see all of the fireworks, and it was just so cool to see essentially so many people gather around to celebrate, you know, ringing in a new year together.
So everybody comes out into the streets and
right,
celebrates.
and I mean, there was no way any car could drive through. Everyone was packed, just watching and embracing what was happening, and so the fireworks were lovely, and just kind of a great way to start off the new year in a sense. Got to walk right onto our hotel and just say goodnight. So we were struggling to stay up, but it was 100% worth it to see this, just because this is something that you see like when all the other, we like sometimes watching other places like ringing in their New Year. So we got like lucky that we got to experience one in our own eyes, and then got to see everybody else ranging from New York to California and all of the places ring it in. So
that's what you can do. You can go and celebrate New Year's in every country.
And it's so funny because we did do that in Venice, actually. That's so funny. So we got to see some fireworks there, but this show was really, really special.
And that's a beautiful shot you had with the tower and the fireworks just behind.
I wish I could put the video, but I think it would make this way too long, so I'll save us that. But yeah, thank you. So the food scene. So surprisingly, not that I'm surprised at all, but food is something that my family and I really it's a part of our trip, especially my mom, since my mom's a pastry chef. And so my mom was already loving what the New Zealand food scene was looking like. And so we were super excited, my dad and I, to explore and see what kind of the pick she had and help her if she needed any help. But my mom's really good on that, really knows what to pick. And so these were some of our meals that we got to have. So I'll give kind of a glimpse. I don't mean to make us hungry, but Auckland was really just like all about sustainability, fresh food, and the bread was just a whole other level. And fish, especially the local fish that they would bring in, was delicious. And so I pretty much featured some of the meals. One of them, I'm trying to remember exactly where these all were, but they were all in Auckland, just at different places. Actually, none of them at our hotel that we stayed at, because our hotel did have a really good restaurant in it. But mainly wanted to explore outside of that and get to see what, you know, local businesses are offering, and local restaurants, always wanting to support local if we can. And so everything was delicious. Like I'm now actually so hungry looking at all of this.
Wow.
And then Island Gelato is kind of one of their main gelato companies that exist out there, and their flavors are really unique but so good. And so even if any ice cream place has like passion fruit or lily koi on their menu, of course I'm gonna have it.
Oh, I love that flavor too.
So it's like one of my favorites ever. So it's just like, it was, when I saw it, I said, done, deal. Just give me a scoop of that. I'd love to try. And so
it looks so creamy.
it is. And honestly, not even just that. I think even on this whole trip, once I kind of go through the rest of the food, we did not have one bad food experience, which is actually crazy.
Amazing.
I feel like you expect that. So we were really lucky and had pretty much a smooth like food experience where we loved everything we pretty much ate. It was really, really awesome. So then the Port Waikato scene. So obviously, I mean, getting into that lodge also, it was like 30 minutes inland, so it was really hard to get out. So kind of the benefit of the lodge that we stayed at was that their chef would cook just these lavish, incredible meals based on what you eat and if you had any dietary restrictions. And so it was really awesome. So these chefs like went all out, like insane. And so like it was awesome. That fish, the salmon that we had on the far left was amazing with this sauce. I dream of that sauce, actually. It was delicious, and it was on a bed of asparagus and some other vegetables. It was delicious. And
looks mouthwatering.
I know.
I'm ready for lunch. We're doing this at lunchtime.
I know. This is, once again, we choose a bad time. No, that's okay. And then pavlova, which is one of my favorite desserts, along with my mom's, actually. It's like French dessert, which I did talk about in my Paris talk, but they made the meringues, and then they used a specific sort of plum as the ice cream that went on top. And I believe it was actually not even just an ice cream, it was a sorbet, but it was delicious. And we ate that right up just because I feel like pavlova is so light and airy. So after a pretty filling meal, there's always, I mean, I always say there's room for dessert, but when it comes to like pavlova and light desserts like that, it's even easier to ingest it just because it feels so light and not as dense and heavy.
You can always find room for dessert.
Exactly. That's what my motto growing up was. Exactly.
You know, what strikes me is how visually appealing these are. Not only, I'm sure they tasted delicious, but they look as good as they taste.
Yes, and that's what matters, especially as a foodie myself. It really does matter. I hope that, you know, I always say my phone eats first whenever I'm taking a photo of, whenever I take a photo of any sort of meal that I'm eating, if I find it photogenic enough to take a photo of. But I think it's more so that I really want it to appeal. So pretty much on a lot of meals throughout this trip, I had no problem that I was like, oh my goodness, I have to take a photograph of this. I cannot not.
You're feeding your phone.
Exactly. My phone has to eat first, and then I can actually eat it. And that. So there's priorities for sure.
And what is that one on the right?
So I was just going to lead to that. Yes, so the one on the right, it was delicious. Like, it was these ahi steaks that they made freshly seared, delicious. And that was also on some bed of some vegetables. That was completely, oh my gosh, like my mouth is even watering seeing that. Looks so good. And then there was also a salad. I believe that was a Caesar. Yeah, that was a Caesar with some croutons, Parmesan, eggs, I believe, hard-boiled, split and delicious, just like probably one of the best Caesars I've had. And that says a lot, since I feel like I love Caesar salad. It's one of my favorite meals that I could like, it's insane. I could eat so much Caesar salad. And then I believe that one in the far corner was some roasted it was roasted broccoli and marinated in a specific kind of like sauce that was also really delicious. So really
It's funny because I never associated New Zealand with food. So you're opening up a whole new window to me.
I know, it's a whole different avenue. Once we got there, I was like, oh man, how am I gonna leave? Like, the food here is so good. Like,
and healthy too.
Oh, very, very, very healthy. And then Waiheke also had some incredible food and seeds as well. Definitely one of those. So the one on the left was some burrata and a specific local fish there, and even this like cabbage salad that was delicious. And then even their fresh fish in the middle, that was, I believe, ahi, and that was really, really good. And then the one on the far right was actually, my mom actually prepared a lot of that for us, and we ate it at our Airbnb that we were staying at, and so it was delicious. We did some different cheeses and bought some local bread, and oh my goodness, the bread over there is a whole other level. It was so good, and so we had that with some eggs. So that was like a breakfast that we got to have with some coffee. It was really, really lovely. And so whenever I go with my mom, I know we're never going to eat bad if we're traveling, especially. And so the fact that my mom was able to just kind of come up with that so naturally and it was effortlessly delicious, I do dream
It's nice
of
to have a
that.
mom who's a chef, huh?
Oh gosh, I mean, it has its huge perks, absolutely. And hopefully I continue to inherit more of that, and she better give me her recipes, that's all I'm saying, because they're so good and I have to learn. So the excursions, where did we go aside from where we got to stay and all of that such? So starting off in Auckland, we did get to go to an art gallery, their museum, and for me, as the art history major that I am, I do love any experience to go to an art museum, just because I feel like art is a reflection of a place's culture and history. And for me, I wanted to learn more about New Zealand through their art and all of that. And so this is just like a few photos. There was definitely a lot more, but this museum had a really great collection of not even just like local art, but just ranging from beyond like just the most like some Monet pieces and some Impressionist art. And it's really cool when you're able to put together more so like, I want to phrase this in the right way, like that when you get to literally live out what you're learning in your classes, it's a whole different experience. And so being an art history major, really, I get to appreciate art in such a different way than a lot of people can. And being able to see art that I was actually learning about in just that previous semester between this current semester and the fall, it was really, really cool being able to be like, oh my goodness, I learned all about that artist through this professor, and that's such a cool opportunity. It's kind of like an aha moment where all the dots and the puzzle pieces really come together and connect, and just it really is, it elevates the experience even more than you would think.
It's so different, isn't it, when you see the art in person than when you see it on a
Totally.
screen or in a book.
Yeah, even in one of my classes that I'd taken as a sophomore, I got to learn about Pacific art, and so through Nina Tongo's class, which she's an incredible professor at UH Manoa for art history, especially in Pacific and Oceanic art. She's just, her knowledge and the way she even carries herself, I'm in awe of it all the time. And when I used to be in her class. And so it was really cool to see what she had talked about come to life. And so, the hanging tapestries were gorgeous to see in person. So that's featured here. And just even the wood carvings and how intentional they are with their wood carvings and how much they really just see those as pieces of art and how much effort they put into it. It was really remarkable to.
You should share these photos with her. I'm sure
I know.
she would be
I
impressed.
need to find Nina. I do need to go find her. Yes,
and I bet your parents were happy that you knew about the art, so you can explain it to them.
Absolutely, and even just like in my previous fall semester class that was about contemporary art prior to 1945. It was really cool to see Impressionism and all these other really important art movements of the times in that whole exhibit was really, really cool. So Monet, who's one of my favorite artists who I talked about in my Paris talk, it was really great to see a water lilies painting in there. And I was like, oh my goodness, what is this doing here? This is oh my gosh,
It's a very eclectic collection.
Right.
Yeah.
Raglan. So Raglan is actually a surf spot or surf town outside of Port Waikato. I want to say located about almost 2 hours out. And we got to go there, and we really just wanted to experience a different city for just a brief moment. And so surfing, something that my family and I really are, we are excited about learning more about surfing just because my dad surfs, I've surfed, and it's something that, my mom likes watching, and I have been in that boat more so recently that I prefer watching it versus going out right now. But I do need to get a board, so this is reminding me that I do need to invest in a much better board. But it was really cool to see surfers go out. This is it was such a popular break when we got there. There was no parking, so because we were going to try to walk along the beach, but there was no way. So we had to park up on the hill and just view the beautiful beach from the hill. And so there was also just a mini town there, so we got to go see some ceramics and just other cafes that they had and shops that they had. And so one thing that I also love doing when I travel is taking some sort of piece that I can carry with me forever, and I definitely did that when I was living in France. And so with this trip, it was really all about ceramics. So I bought a few pieces of ceramics to bring back with me, and I use those mugs and everything now daily. So it reminds me just of how incredible New Zealand is, specifically Raglan, reminded me of how much I enjoyed this trip in that time. And so carries with me every single day. It's really awesome. But so this is my family and I just showing that we were exploring a whole different area that we had never seen before. And it's actually crazy because I had thought in my head, I was like, oh my goodness, that I'm surprised they haven't had any surf competitions here or anything, just because that's such a popular thing that I love to do here and other people love to do as well. And so go watch these surfers and create community based on watching surfers essentially catch, some of them, the wave of their life if we're thinking of pipeline and things like that. And so it was really, actually, I think maybe a week or two after that, they announced the World Surf League that they were going to hold. One of their stops now is for the championship tour is going to be Raglan. So it'll be really cool to see watching some of those heats and everything. Wait, I was there. I know exactly where they were.
Know exactly.
So,
did your dad try surfing while he was there?
No, he was not. But definitely, maybe we'll just have to go another summer and go surf, or at least if I can get him to paddle out here, and that includes myself, need to hold myself accountable, that will be our next step. So hopefully we'll do some more here, and then if we get to go on a surfing trip to New Zealand.
And that's really an example of the Polynesian culture there in New Zealand, right?
Totally, absolutely. And then Sunset Beach, so this was another adventure that took us maybe 40 minutes to an hour to get out to. So this is a black sand beach that's also in Port Waikato area, and it was really beautiful. I haven't been to too many black sand beaches, believe it or not. So when I got there, I was pinching myself. I was like, wait, this is crazy. There was surfers definitely going out and surfing, but it was so cool to be able to just walk along and see the difference, just because I feel like here the beaches on the islands are gorgeous. And so, and I know Maui has some black sand beaches, and I know there's some other places as well, but it was really, really cool to be able to go to a different country and experience what the difference from ranging, how the sand felt on my feet. And also I'm a big shell collector, so shells, oh my goodness, there's a whole different breed and everything over there, and just was gorgeous in a way that I can appreciate so differently.
So the sand is black because these are volcanic islands, right?
Right,
like Hawaii.
Right, exactly. So the similarities, once again, between here and there, it's very, very interesting.
And you had the whole place to yourself. I can't believe there's nobody else there. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, and sometimes I'm also very deceiving. So there were some people there too, but on this day in specific, it was, a little colder, but that didn't stop us from getting closer to the water and reconnecting with water, just because where we were staying at that lodge in Port Waikato there was no side of water other than if you were drinking it and the pool that they had there. But otherwise, there was no chance of being close to the water. So this was like the perfect chance to re-experience
You're drawn to the sea like a magnet. I can see that.
Exactly. It's why I think I love living here. And when I go home to California too, I'm just so connected to the water. It's,
I didn't know you surfed. That's another side of you that I just learned
I'm so
about.
mysterious. I know. There's always some fun facts about me. So
You're like an onion. I just keep peeling the layers and finding more.
Exactly. So one thing that I talked about that the Kiwis are proud of is their wine, specifically the production of wine. And so we thought it'd be important for us to do some wine tasting while we were there. And so here, mainly in Waiheke, they had some incredible wines. And so we got to experience trying some with some oysters, and then as well trying mainly just we did some reds, but more so whites. So it was really cool to educate myself on a wine level about what wines they create and what they offer, and just learning about their tastes. And so it was more so an educational way that we went to go and taste these wines. And I think so many people love wine, but definitely you associate a lot of that with Europe or Napa, for example. So it's really interesting that New Zealand puts themselves in the whole wine producing world, and that they can create such really good wine depending on what you like. So it was really such a cool experience being able to wine taste there. So
it's so interesting because all of these products, wine, olive oil, we associate with the Mediterranean countries.
Right, totally.
I think most people don't realize that they also make them in New Zealand.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Yes, exactly. And it was the first where I was of age too, so I really got to experience it in a very appropriate way with my parents, and it was just so special. We had the best time being able to try local wine. It was awesome.
And those oysters look luscious.
Oh, and it's so interesting too.
So fresh.
I actually, oysters is one of my least favorite foods to eat, but that was also because when I'm younger, my taste buds weren't as mature. And so as I've gotten older, I've pushed myself to try to like them more. And so I like them grilled, I know that. So it's more so the raw taste is kind of weirder for me, but I had these ones and did it with the marinade and everything completely fine. So I was like, man, maybe I'm growing up. So
I guess so. They are a bit of an acquired taste though, because they have a very interesting texture as well, which is different.
Totally. I remember my parents tried to make me have it at 12 years old, and I just was like, get that away from me. I won't even get near it. And even going to an oyster farm when we went to a trip in Australia, I just couldn't enjoy the experience. I was there and present in it, but I didn't get to probably really appreciate it as much as I would now, just because oysters were not my thing.
Too young. 12 is too young for oysters.
Too young for oysters. I may need to go back and revisit that for sure. So now I'm at the key takeaways. So this trip was really, honestly, in my trips that I've done, one of my top 5, and I've been really blessed and fortunate to have traveled to many different places in the world. And so for me, I really feel lucky that I got to, that this just made it up in my top 5 ranking. I don't want to unveil entirely what my top 5 are, but I think that's huge that you get to, that for me, I got to experience this trip, and it made such movement in my rankings, I guess. And not that I want to rank my trips ever, but being able to list it in my top 5 is so huge for me, just because I do emphasize what travel means to me, and the importance of traveling and what it can teach you as a person and about life and everything. And so before I go back to those points, I want to mainly touch on what I wrote here on the key takeaways. So first of all, I never knew how key New Zealand is. They're so focused on the attention to sustainability and environmental wellness across that country. So the second that we landed, they were super invested on what we were bringing in, especially from food wise, just because they are so wanting to protect their landscapes and their environment. And so it's really cool to see how committed they are to sustainability, and just like kind of goes into even my next point. Like, they're very intentional about prioritizing the protection of their lands, their oceans, their wildlife, plant species, et cetera. So very much it was very interesting to see how that can correlate to here too, but really there was a whole different level of just how much they focused on it and made it a priority for everyone to understand that, like, when you're coming here, like, you have to respect our land and the place, just because this is an environment and habitat for so many other people and animals as well, and for plants especially. And
absolutely. You know, and this reminds me, when we landed in New Zealand, my husband and I, and, you know, they ask you what you're carrying, and we had boots with us because we went in the winter.
Right, yes.
And they made us put them in plastic bags. They checked everything out to make sure that there was no mud on them or anything, or a little, you know, remnants of plants from Hawaii. They really checked before they would let us in. And I thought, wow, you know, in most countries, they're looking for other things, right? Like bombs and weapons. And in New Zealand, they're checking that there's no dirt on the bottom of my boots, because
exactly.
it will contaminate their environment. Yeah.
It really reflects how much they really prioritize their environment and want to protect it as much as they can. So it's really, really, really interesting. And yeah, exactly your point. It was like also like, just like how here you fill out a form to obviously be able to come on the islands and everything. Yeah. It's so interesting, their form too. It was just interesting to fill that out, and how more specific it was to what you were carrying. Like, really it mattered. So for us, we were just like, we'll do whatever we need to do and make sure we get in. But it's also, because I feel like Hawaii, their form is like in depth as well, but just like definitely they asked a lot more questions specifically on the New Zealand form. So it really shows just how intentional and similar to Hawaii they are about how much they care for their land and the oceans and everything. It's very important. The strong presence of Polynesian culture. So they're obviously, the names of a lot of the places there have Polynesian descent, and as well as just even seeing people also with the tatau. So like the original Polynesian tattoos, it was so cool to be able to see it. The ones especially like on the face and other areas as well, just because here people also too have those tattoos similar as well. But it was really cool to be able to see those ones, the ones on the face specifically, because I don't see those too often out here. And so it was really cool to be able to see those and just hear a sense of the Polynesian culture that was happening there. I also remember too, at the Auckland Art Gallery, there was an exhibition that they had where you could kind of hear a bit of the dialogue of Polynesia. And so it was really interesting to be able to hear it. And I find that it was a flashback to when I went to Bishop a few years ago in Nina's class, and we had to go to a Pacific art exhibition. Not had to, we had the opportunity to go to one. And we got to hear different, they used audio as a part of their exhibition, and making it where you can understand what the point of their exhibition was, which I believe was about immigration and oceanic and the cultural ties with those. And so it was really, really cool to be able to see those. This is just a small glimpse, and I think more so, if I get to go back, I would like to do more cultural, and that would be a lot more of an interesting experience, just because I think, like I said, it's also the proximity from Hawaii to New Zealand. It's not that bad. It's not as far. So definitely I want to go experience it some more. So I would like, next time to go, I would like to really have not that this experience wasn't great, it's in my top 5 for sure, but definitely be able to experience their culture in some different ways. So I'd love to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Totally.
You know, one of the things that, as you're speaking, that I recall is feeling like the people in New Zealand are a little bit more in touch with their Polynesian heritage than we are here, because I remember seeing people with the tattoos, and I remember hearing the language. They actually have a television station where you can hear the Maori
I had no
language.
idea. Wait, that's awesome.
Yeah, they have several, because we turned the TV on in the hotel room, and they were doing the news, and they had movies that were in the Maori language. And I remember thinking, wouldn't it be wonderful if Hawaiian were spoken as often here in Hawaii, and you could turn on the TV or the radio and have a station just in the Hawaiian language? Wouldn't that be wonderful? So it's something to aspire to, I think, here in Hawaii, because it's still very much in evidence there, and very, very much a part of the people's identity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd argue the same here, but definitely I just could correlate the similarities where they have their streets and places that were of names of cultural descent. And so it was really cool to be able to compare that. Oh yeah, there's streets and avenues and places here that have their cultural references as well. So it was really cool to be able to compare how similar, honestly, Hawaii and New Zealand are. I mean, they are in the Pacific, but it's very interesting to see their compare and contrast in their similarities in real life. So very, very interesting. In terms of also the pride of the Kiwis are really proud about their products that they produce, just because especially their quality and the sustainability, and they really are, it's really interesting to see that. And so when they would promote their wine to olive oil or tea or anything, they were always just so happy to uplift that. And that's what I also found so similar to here too. They're always supporting local and wanting to support local. And so that's why, like, here I always try to support local businesses and anything I could do to help locally. And so there it was like, of course I'll want to support any sort of Kiwi business in any way that I can. And so it's awesome to be able to, like I said, indulge in their products and really get to see how amazing their products really are. They're really awesome. It's like, man, I wish we had more out here. It would be amazing. We do, I mean, from wine for sure, but there's definitely should be a lot more Kiwi products out here. And Manuka honey. Those
That'd
two
be nice, right? If we grew more here in Hawaii.
Right.
We grow some, but again, they can really be a sort of a model for what is possible.
Totally. And even seeing Manuka honey here, when I got back here, I was like, man, I have a whole different view on Manuka honey because I actually understand it more than when I did Briar. So it was really, honestly, trips really can teach you a lot and teach you some valuable lessons and expand your horizons. And so really already noticing New Zealand making its impact was awesome. And so that kind of does tie me to my last point, which inspired by my North Island experience. It is in my top 5 experience, New Zealand. Just, I loved every single second of it. It was just honestly one of the best experiences ever. And so I'm already itching to have the South Island experience and get down to the South Island. I really want to specifically go when it's lupin season, which is when the specific flowers bloom in the South Island, and it's gorgeous. I've seen it all over my Pinterest. I've seen it, different people travel there when they go to New Zealand, and so for me, I want to go to experience it. And I believe it's at Lake Tekapo and even some other places as well. Definitely, if you want to go experience lupin season, look it up. It's what I need to go experience. That will be my reason why I go back to New Zealand for sure. One of them for sure. Other than how incredibly, honestly, how kind the people are there. Just reminds me so much a lot of here too. They really are just generous and kind people, and reminds me a lot of the people here as they act so similar. I was like, man, like, this is not Hawaii. This is so different. And yet it shows that those type of places that it can exist. Like, that'd be amazing if everywhere can honestly be how kind, thoughtful, and generous these communities are. Genuinely.
They are lovely people. And I mean, to your point, Hawaii, we have such a mixture of populations, right, because of our history. Right. New Zealand, of course, does too, because you have the Polynesian culture, of course, which is the indigenous culture, but then you also have the British heritage.
Right.
So when we were there, I kept feeling like, I wonder, this must be what like England was like in the 1950s, because it's still very traditional. Totally. They have the little tea set up in the hotel room so you can have your cup of tea. Mm-hmm. And yet, it's also very Polynesian. The names of so many of the places are Polynesian, and we still hear the Maori language, and people still have the tattoos. And so it's this really interesting hybrid that, is just glorious. So it's a wonderful mix.
Yeah. I remember when we first started talking about that I would be going to New Zealand, you were sharing a bit of your experience with me. So I love that you get to even connect and resonate with your experience as well here. Even though I did not go to Wellington, but I would like to also go there as well. But I think that's also the perk of being able to travel and not do everything at once. Like, you get to be able to go revisit, just how I feel about France and specifically Paris, being able to not have done entirely everything. I have a reason to go back. Mm-hmm. And so for here, my reasons is only getting longer to go back to New Zealand, just because really is such a beautiful place, and with the people and culture and everything. And so I really appreciated how their hospitality and how much I got to learn about their culture and everything, and just expand my knowledge on them. And so I would be happy to recommend New Zealand to anyone. It probably would honestly be in my top 5 to recommend even. Honestly, top 5 is really the most popular phrase I'm going to be saying today. But really, it's just an incredible experience. And I hope to go back very soon. Not sure if that's going to be a graduation celebration trip. Most likely not, just because it is very fresh, but definitely it is nice living in proximity where you could just get on a flight and go right on over and
And
go
if
right
you
on
do
back.
go in June after graduation, or May, I should say, it will be their winter. Just
Yeah,
to
so
let
that's
folks know.
what I'm being aware of.
It's
So
very cold.
It's a little too cold, but I mean, also any reason to go back. I also wouldn't be able to say no, but like I said, it is also fresh. So I really also am still in ways soaking in that experience and would prefer to go maybe in a year or whichever. However, honestly, the opportunity presents itself. That's how I'm all about. So just know I'm itching. I already want to go back. So we'll figure that out very soon on how I can get back there. But that is pretty much my presentation. And yeah, thank you so much again for providing this opportunity for me to come back and speak to the Global Studies program. I'm really appreciative and happy to always share about my travels and talk story about them. Yeah.
Well, thank you. That was a beautiful presentation. You spoil us with all your gorgeous photos.
Thank you.
You are a poster child for New Zealand.
Thank you. I'm very honored. So sweet. Thank you.
And I'm sure anybody watching would be very inspired.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you again for joining us. And we hope that you all enjoyed today's discussion and came away with new perspectives on our global community. If you'd like to learn more about Leeward's Global Studies program, consider pursuing our Academic Subject Certificate in Global Studies. Through courses that explore international issues, language, and culture, you'll develop the awareness and skills needed to thrive in today's interconnected world. For more information, once again, please feel free to contact me at sdscotty@hawaii.edu or my colleague, Dr. Karim Khan at khana@hawaii.edu. Until next time, mahalo for watching and take care.